Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé. Latest news updates as time moved forward. The meaning of that forever moment continued to sink deeper into Matt and Jasmine's lives. It was not confined to a single day or celebration. It echoed in their everyday routines, in the quiet mornings when their daughter's laughter filled the room, and in the late nights when exhaustion tested their patience. What once felt like chaos slowly transformed into rhythm. The very challenges that had nearly broken them in the past now became lessons they carried with greater awareness and humility. Matt began to show a different side of himself, one that had rarely surfaced during the early days of their relationship. Responsibility no longer felt like a burden he carried alone. Instead, it became a shared purpose. He learned to communicate not from a place of defense, but from a place of understanding. His bond with his daughter deepened in ways he had never imagined, grounding him emotionally and giving him a renewed sense of identity beyond conflict and doubt. Jasmine, too, underwent a profound transformation. Motherhood strengthened her voice while softening her fears. She no longer felt defined solely by past pain or emotional reactions. Instead, she embraced a sense of balance, learning when to fight for what mattered and when to let go of what no longer served her or her family. Watching her daughter grow gave her clarity, reminding her that love could exist without constant turmoil. Their journey, however, was not without setbacks. There were moments when old patterns resurfaced, when stress triggered familiar arguments, and when unresolved wounds threatened to reopen, but the difference now lay in how they responded. Instead of walking away or shutting down, they paused. They listened. They remembered why they chose to keep going. The presence of their daughter acted as a silent guide during those moments. She represented not just innocence, but accountability. Every decision they made carried weight, shaping the emotional environment in which she would grow. That awareness pushed them to confront their flaws. Honestly, rather than deny them, fans of the show continued to observe these changes with cautious optimism. Many had seen reality television relationships crumble under far less pressure. Matt and Jasmine's willingness to evolve, even after public scrutiny and personal heartbreak, stood out. Their story felt less like entertainment and more like a reflection of real life, relationships messy, imperfect, and deeply human. The forever moment they celebrated was ultimately about stability. It was about creating a safe, emotional home, one built not on grand gestures but on consistency. Simple moments, family meals, shared laughter, quiet conversations became milestones of their own. These were the moments that truly defined their progress. Looking ahead, Matt and Jasmine understood that forever is not guaranteed by a single promise or event. It is built daily through effort, patience, and empathy. They no longer chased the idea of a perfect relationship. Instead, they committed to growth. Knowing that love thrives not in perfection but in perseverance, their daughter would grow up one day and perhaps learn about the rocky journey her parents traveled before finding their footing. And when she did, she would see more than struggle. She would see resilience. She would see two people who chose responsibility over ego, healing over resentment, and family over fear. In that sense, the forever moment was not just a celebration of the present, but a foundation for the future. It was proof that even relationships born in chaos can evolve into something meaningful when nurtured with honesty and care. Matt and Jasmine's story remains unfinished, but that is what makes it powerful. It continues, shaped by love, challenged by reality, and strengthened by the bond they share with their daughter. And perhaps that is the truest definition of forever. Not a destination, but a journey willingly walked together, even after the storm. They carried that understanding with them as life continued to unfold, realizing that the real test of their commitment would not come during celebratory moments, but in ordinary days filled with responsibility. Parenthood reshaped their priorities in subtle yet powerful ways. Decisions were no longer impulsive. They were intentional. Matt found himself thinking further ahead than ever before, considering not just the immediate outcome, but the long-term impact of every choice. Jasmine became more reflective, learning that strength did not always mean intensity, and that calm consistency could be just as powerful as passion. There were mornings when exhaustion weighed heavily on them, when patience felt thin and the echoes of past arguments lingered in the background. Yet, even in those moments, something fundamental had changed. They no longer viewed each other as opponents locked in emotional battles, but as partners navigating the same challenges from different perspectives. That shift, though quiet, marked one of the most important evolutions in their relationship. Their daughter grew quickly, each milestone reinforcing the meaning of that forever promise. Her first words, her first steps, and her curiosity about the world reminded them daily that time moves forward whether people are ready or not. This awareness encouraged growth. Matt became more emotionally expressive, allowing vulnerability to replace the guarded demeanor viewers once associated with him. Jasmine learned to trust stability, even when it felt unfamiliar. The public nature of their journey added another layer of complexity. Being part of a reality television franchise meant that their mistakes, struggles, and growth were often judged by strangers. Criticism came easily, empathy less so. Yet over time, Matt and Jasmine learned to separate public perception from private truth. They stopped living to prove anything to an audience and began focusing on what truly mattered within the walls of their home. That decision brought a sense of peace neither of them had experienced before. Their relationship no longer revolved around proving love, but practicing it. Apologies became sincere instead of defensive. Conversations became solutions instead of confrontations. Slowly, trust was rebuilt not as an abstract concept, but as a daily practice reinforced through actions. The rocky journey they endured began to feel less like a burden and more like a foundation. Every challenge they survived added depth to their bond. They understood each other better, not because they avoided conflict, but because they faced it honestly. Their past no longer defined them. It informed them. As their daughter grew older, she became a mirror reflecting their progress. Her sense of security, her laughter, and her emotional openness were subtle indicators that the environment around her was stable and loving. This realization validated the effort Matt and Jasmine had invested in themselves and each other. It reminded them that growth, though difficult, was worth the discomfort. The idea of forever continued to evolve for them. It no longer felt like a promise tied to fear of loss, but a commitment grounded in choice. Every day they chose patience over anger, understanding over assumption, and unity over division. These choices, repeated consistently, shaped the life they were building together. Looking back, Matt and Jasmine could acknowledge how close they had come to losing everything. That awareness did not haunt them. It humbled them. It taught them gratitude for progress, no matter how slow. It reminded them that love is not measured by how little one struggles, but by how willing one is to keep going. Their story stands as a reminder that transformation is rarely dramatic or immediate. It happens quietly, through small adjustments, honest self-reflection, and sustained effort. Matt and Jasmine did not become perfect partners, but they became present ones. And in the context of family, presence is everything. As the future unfolds, uncertainties will undoubtedly arise. Life will introduce new challenges, new stressors, and new moments of doubt. Yet what sets Matt and Jasmine apart now is not the absence of fear, but the confidence that they can face it together. Their daughter remains at the heart of that confidence, a living reminder of why they chose growth over giving up. In the end, their forever moment was not a conclusion but a beginning shaped by lessons learned the hard way, strengthened by resilience, and guided by love that matured through adversity. Their journey continues, imperfect yet purposeful, grounded in the understanding that forever is built one day at a time, through choices made with intention, compassion, and hope. With that mindset firmly in place, Matt and Jasmine began to approach the future with a quieter confidence. They no longer felt the need to constantly reassure each other with words because their actions spoke clearly. Trust grew in the small, consistent gestures that often go unnoticed, showing up on difficult days, listening without interrupting, and offering support without being asked. These moments, though simple, became the glue that held their family together. As their daughter continued to grow, she became more aware of the world around her, responding to the emotional tone of her home. Matt and Jasmine noticed how sensitive she was to their moods, how quickly she smiled when they laughed together, and how easily she relaxed when the atmosphere was calm. This awareness made them more mindful of their behavior, not out of fear, but out of love. They understood that the emotional environment they created would shape her sense of safety and self-worth. The past still existed, but it no longer controlled them. Old memories surfaced from time to time, reminding them of arguments that once felt insurmountable and moments when walking away seemed easier than staying. Instead of reopening wounds, those memories now served as markers of progress. They were evidence of how far they had come and how much they had learned about themselves along the way. Matt became more comfortable, embracing his role not just as a provider, but as an emotionally present father and partner. He discovered that strength did not mean silence or emotional distance. It meant accountability, patience, and the courage to express vulnerability. Jasmine, in turn, learned that love did not need to be loud to be real. Stability, once unfamiliar, became a source of comfort rather than restlessness. Their relationship settled into something deeper than passion alone. It became rooted in respect, understanding, and shared responsibility. They no longer measured their success by the absence of conflict, but by how quickly and constructively they resolved it. This shift allowed their bond to mature in a way that felt sustainable rather than exhausting. Outside opinions continued to exist, but they held less power. Matt and Jasmine accepted that not everyone would understand their journey or believe in their growth. Instead of trying to convince others, they focused on living their truth. The validation they once sought externally was now found internally in the peace they felt within their family, and the joy they saw reflected in their daughter's eyes as time passed. The idea of forever felt less intimidating and more attainable. It was no longer a distant concept or an idealized promise. It was woven into their daily lives, present in routine moments and shared responsibilities. Forever meant waking up and choosing effort even when motivation faded. It meant forgiving quickly, learning continuously, and growing individually while remaining united. Their daughter would one day ask questions about their past, about where they came from and how their family came to be. When that time arrived, Matt and Jasmine would not hide their struggles. They would share their story honestly, not to glorify hardship, but to demonstrate resilience. They would show her that love is not about avoiding mistakes, but about learning from them. In that honesty, their story finds its true strength. It is not a tale of instant transformation or perfect outcomes, but one of persistence. A story shaped by two people who chose to face their flaws, confront their fears, and commit to something greater than themselves. The rocky journey that once defined them no longer overshadows their present. Instead, it adds depth and meaning to every moment they share now. Their forever moment with their daughter was not a single chapter, but a turning point, a quiet declaration that, despite everything, they chose to move forward together. And as life continues to unfold, with all its unpredictability, Matt and Jasmine remain grounded in the understanding that forever is not guaranteed by circumstance, but created through intention. Day by day, choice by choice, they continue building a future, rooted in love, resilience, and hope, one that began after the storm and continues long after the cameras fade.